Oh, yes. I've been waiting for a while to drop this video for you guys. So, for those who don't know, I rarely ever come on here and talk about stuff that's not like wrestling related. And I don't know if I'm gonna be doing like movie reviews or stuff like that. I'm just barely starting to do like music reactions and stuff like that. But I couldn't resist without dropping this one. I've been waiting for this since I've sit down and binged this entire series known as The Best Man, The Filed Chapters. Now, what you guys may not know is that Josh Lopez, if you're watching the video for the first time, I'm Josh Lopez. I'm the host and producer of the Hoots podcast, but we'll talk about that later on. Um, One of my favorite series of all time, television, movies, whatever, is The Best Man. From the initial movie, I remember watching it as a kid. Maybe I was, maybe I should have been watching it at that time, but being the product of the mid and late '90s, you're exposed to probably a lot of stuff that you should have been exposed to at that time. But not only that, The Best Man Holiday was another one of my favorites, and of course The Best Man, The Final Chapters. First of all, I would like to thank Malcolm Lee, Tay Diggs, Sanaa Lathan, Regina Hall, what? Nia Long, Terrence Howard. Been a big fan of Terrence Howard for a very long time, especially the Empire Show. Harold, um, Melissa D'Souza, Shelby. Uh, you know, of course, we got to give a shout out to Mia Calhoun. Monica Calhoun, her presence was missed. She came in like holographic, I guess, in a stance, in a key part of the series. By the way, there's gonna be spoiler talk, so if you haven't had a chance to watch The Best Man and Final Chapters, please go out your way to watch it. It's on Peacock. If you have Xfinity cable, there's a good chance you have Peacock, so go check it out. Binge watch it. If you haven't watched it, I recommend you to stop watching. And there's gonna be some spoiler talk, but here we go. It's not gonna be a lot. I just want to express my thoughts on this as a guy that's been a big fan of this series and this movie series and just all the characters that's been involved in this project. I love this. I loved The Best Man, The Final Chapters, to the point where I hope this is not where we last stand. Not that I need more drama in my life from the characters in this saga, in this franchise, but I'll say this. For symbolism purposes, if this was indeed that last episode, episode 8 or episode 10, whatever it was, where everybody's dancing after Harper got his big writing award, and everybody's dancing in that hallway, and he has a big celebration with his daughter. If that was the symbolism of that's it, that's the end of the journey for all these characters, and then you go back to the first one where everybody's dancing in the wedding, then props to the writers, props to Malcolm and everybody involved. I guess that's the proper only way to send off that franchise. But I can't be alone in feeling that, hey, we should have more of this. We should have more for this. Honestly, I wouldn't say it's false advertising, but just saying it's a limited series leads, at least to my eyes, hope that there could be more from this. And now, I'm not expecting The Best Man, The Final Chapters to be 8 seasons long. We don't need that to happen. But just everything that went into this, this limited series was very different from the stuff that you get on Netflix that run for like maybe 20 or 35 minute max, like Emily in Paris. By the way, big fan of Emily in Paris. I'm surprised I'm revealing that. Hopefully that doesn't take away my testosterone points or anything, but that show is awesome too on Netflix. But going back to this, each episode in this limited series was about an hour long, and there was a lot of detail that went into this. There was a lot of backstory. I just, for Malcolm especially and the writers of this series, I think they did a great job of, you know, they've always done this. Whereas the first two movies or this franchise, this limited series, that you know, the best thing about the Best Man saga is that all the characters have characteristics that relate to all of us in our real life. I think more than any other mainstream franchise of movies or television shows. Um, Even then, to some points, it would be unrealistic for some of these long legating shows like Grey's Anatomy and stuff like that. Like, I just feel like uh, this particular franchise is like the most pure, true to home perspective on life, on relationships, on mental health, and all different life topics. There was a very key important one in this franchise that kind of brought everybody back together, even through all the exterior conflict along the way, and that was Lance's son LJ coming out, and that conflict of not wanting to disappoint his father because Lance wanted him to follow him in his footsteps. LJ is finding himself along this process, and how that story played out was really good. Very emotional at times. That church scene when Lance found LJ towards the end was a tearjerker to say the least. I gotta say this: I've been a big fan of Nia Long for a very long time, and I think this is probably her best performance of anything she's ever done. Um, I really, really do believe that. She's had some phenomenal roles in movies and stuff, but I thought Nia Long was phenomenal in this. But also, I want to give a shout out to Shelby, Melissa. She killed it. the entire the entire series. Um, there's always a tie-in when it comes to Shelby and Q and their relationship and the toxicity, and that ended up in this series where they finally get to know each other and accept each other for each other's flaws and working on each other. And then we find out obviously that towards the wedding that was supposed to happen, Q was the father all along of Shelby's daughter Kennedy, and uh, seeing that dynamic as well, especially when she gets older and she's a teenager. And this limited series spanned a lot of different places. We stopped in 2013. We gone through they skimmed through the pandemic. There's a nice feature along the way where they showed Robin, who's Sanaa Lathan plays. Robin was really into the Black Lives Matter movement. I thought that was really cool and the importance of that. And we're going through the COVID situation. Q lost a lot of stock in his hotel enterprise. Let's talk about Harper really quick. I really enjoy Harper Stewart, man. He is a flawed individual, but that's somebody who pushes through. And even though there's a lot of things that may be wrong about him, and you look at it on paper, this guy's narcissistic, he's only single oriented on his projects and not the world revolved around his life and his family. They tap into that emotion, and there's times, whether it's the first movie or the second movie or this series, where you want to hate the guy. And what Taye Diggs has done for this character alone in this franchise cannot be understated. He taps into every emotion you want to have towards him. But I also look at his plight and his journey, especially relationships. So in this series, if you haven't watched it yet, him and Robin get divorced. And that was a very emotional couple of episodes. And you're just getting to that climax of like, she's had enough of him and his bullshit, and it's getting tense, and she just like she got pushed to the boiling point where she was even contemplating cheating on him with a random guy because he's into cooking and he has a different perspective on life than Harper does. And then you always got the will they, won't they scenario with him and Jordan. And one of my favorite scenes from this series was the last episode where Tay and not Tay, my bad, Harper and Jordan are walking across, I think, some like, I want to say like lake or something like that, but this is after Robin left with their baby Mia to Africa. So Robin had an ultimatum, like, choose us, come with us to Africa for a summer, and then you can go back to working on your projects. Harper's like, no, I gotta do this. I gotta get the second movie saga of Unfinished Business, and that just bit him in the ass and almost made him lost his family. And they tap into Jordan's her side of the story as well, where she's juggling a lot of things. She's at an executive position at NBC Universal, and she still has feelings for Harper. Those feelings are always going to be there, and I think one thing that was cool about this series was that even for the most complex situations, I think it comes to real life situations as well, where you are realizing who your real soulmates are. Maybe the journey to getting to that realization can be messy at times, but that's how life is to it sometimes. And I look at how Harper was talking to Jordan and the way he was looking at her and the way she was looking back at him, and she was saying like, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And I think maybe we got a little hints of that, of him looking at her at the celebration when he was getting the award towards the end of the series. I think we all know that Harper loves Robin, but Jordan honestly is his soulmate, and Harper is Jordan's soulmate. I think that's obvious, whether you watch the first movie or the second one, or even this series alone, even if you didn't watch the first two movies. There was some really tough, heart-wrenching parts in that dynamic for all three of them. And I think, again, this really showcased how great Nia Long is as an actor, and that girl deserves a lot more flowers. Couple other thoughts. Big shout out. That was pretty cool to see Stephen A. Smith's daughter on there. Thought she did a fantastic job. Stephen A. was on it, going back and forth with Lance as Lance was trying to become a sports broadcaster. I thought that was pretty funny. The one thing I was not as crazy about for this series was the first couple episodes, not the episodes itself, but merch, and how he was carrying himself during that whole I should be the best man. I should be the best man. I should be the best man. I thought that was a little bit over the top when the first couple episodes were going on. But there was a reason behind that, and it's really sparking an identity crisis for him. And then, that started to mess things up with his relationship with Candace. Candace was outworking herself, trying to prove people wrong, that she could do something on her own accord. And for her, she unfortunately had a bad run-in with a dude who tried to force himself upon her while trying to get her an opportunity at a bigger job. That was a fucked up that was a fucked up scene, man. I forgot the name of the professor, but what a scumbag. And then, Murchie's all about, like, I'm tired of being portrayed as the bad guy. Not the bad guy, as the weak link, the simp, the weak link of the crew. So he takes on being an MMA fighter. And he starts, participating in these underground MMA events. And he won a couple fights, when they had the crew there and Candace saw him fighting for the first time. I thought that was a pretty cool scene. So you have every spectrum of conflict and growing old and healing and every bit of emotion you could ever want laid into these characters, and they just killed it. Obviously, the comedy's there, the music in the background is fantastic. The friendly dynamics. Morris Chestnut's the man. I mean, the guy gets more compliments than anybody deserves on God Reserve, and good for good reason. I'm a big fan of Morris Chestnut. He did a great job as Lance. Seeing his conflict of trying to find himself again after Mia's passing and rekindling the relationship he had with his kids. He starts falling in love with the girl he meets down in the Dominican Republic. Really quick, I thought it was pretty funny. I'm not sure if it was intentional that the crew was poking fun at Aaron Rodgers for the ayahuasca, but as a Chicago Bears fan, I was cracking up with all that ayahuasca stuff. I was like, okay. Now I see what the behind the scenes of what makes Aaron Rodgers, right? But no, this whole series was very, very cool. And if you guys haven't watched The Best Man, the final chapters, I totally recommend it for you guys. It's phenomenal from top to bottom. You enjoy each episode. I do recommend you guys go check out the first two movies as well, so you get context. They're available on Peacock as well, so you get the entire Best Man collection. Spend a weekend on it. You will not regret it, trust me. So overall, I really enjoyed The Best Man, the final chapters. I hope this continues. I hope that was not the last episode that we saw. But if it was, I think it's a perfect symbolism of that franchise as a whole. So to Morris, to Terrence, to Harold, to Tay, to Sanam, Melissa, Nia Long, everybody in between. Thank you guys, and Malcolm Lee, of course. Thank you all for giving us The Best Man in the final chapters, and I loved it, and I can't wait to watch it again. So, you guys let me know which was your favorite episode from The Best Man in the final chapters. Pros and cons, what you like, what you didn't like about it, and also let me know what's your favorite character from the whole franchise. I'd love to get your guys' opinions on that, but as far as I'm concerned, The Best Man in the final chapters definitely Mage. It gets 2 thumbs up for me. So hope you guys enjoyed this review. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. We'll talk to you later. Peace.